Director General of the European Space Agency, today it is my privilege to say a few words to launch the first ESA Careers Week. This is the first time that ESA has organized an entire week dedicated to raising awareness about the job and career opportunities we offer, and it presents a unique opportunity to get insights into what it is to work at ESA. My own ESA career spans 30 years, culminating in my appointment as ESA Director of Earth Observation Programs in 2016, and then, of course, as ESA Director General in 2021. Therefore, I believe that I'm in a very good position to speak from my own experience and, on that basis, to say that ESA is a very special place to work. So, what is ESA? ESA works for the benefit of the European space community. Europe, through ESA, is successfully active in all space domains and is a recognized and reliable partner in all major endeavors in science and exploration. Top-notch science and knowledge acquisition are at the core of the agency's DNA and focus. ESA is also unique among space agencies. It is the only space agency working for exclusively peaceful purposes. It is also the only truly international space agency, bringing together 22 member states, 3 associate member states, and Canada, as well as some 5 other European states who have cooperation agreements with us. This means that together we can achieve more than one country alone, and this is one of our major strengths. In addition, at ESA, we believe that an agency can only be as strong as its people. Essential elements in this respect are diversity and inclusiveness. We are therefore continuing our work towards becoming a diverse and attractive employer that serves as a model to the space community and beyond. Between now and 2030, more than 40% of ESA workforce will retire, and many new colleagues will join us as a result. This is obviously a major catalyst for change, but also an unprecedented opportunity to help us complete the organizational transformation required for us to be able to continue working for the benefit of Europe as a whole, looking to the future and to the years to come. At ESA, we are constantly promoting the work we do. However, we don't often talk about ESA as an employer. This is one of the reasons why this week we are opening the doors of ESA to you as potential candidates so that you can find out firsthand from our ESA colleagues what it is like to actually work at ESA. The program for the week is published on our careers website. This website also contains a lot of information about working at ESA, both for people who have already built up professional experiences and are looking for a change, and also for those just starting their careers. The right job for you at ESA may not be open today, but there will be many exciting opportunities in the coming months and years. These will not just be in science and engineering, but also in the business support domains such as IT, legal, financial, procurement, HR, and facility management. Now, I would like to conclude with a word of advice to all potential candidates. Yes, ESA is an amazing place to work. And yes, we set the bar high and recruit highly competent experts. But don't set the bar too high for yourself. When you see an interesting vacancy, take a good critical look at the requirements listed. Compare them objectively with your background, namely your qualifications and experience. And don't forget to make sure the vacancy fits with your motivation and aspirations. If you see a match, then give it a go and apply. Let us decide if you are the right person for the job. Our recruiting managers and HR have a lot of experience in selecting the right people for our organization. In the future, perhaps that could be you. I wish you an interesting, educational, and inspirational first ESA Careers Week. Thank you. As Director General of the European Space Agency, today it is my privilege to say a few words to launch the first ESA Careers Week. As Director General of the European Space Agency, today it is my privilege to say a few words to launch the first ESA Careers Week. This is the first time that ESA has organized an entire week dedicated to raising awareness about the job and career opportunities we offer, and it presents a unique opportunity to get insights into what it is to work at ESA. My own ESA career spans 30 years, culminating in my appointment as ESA Director of Earth Observation Programs in 2016, and then, of course, as ESA Director General in 2021. Therefore, I believe that I'm in a very good position to speak from my own experience and, on that basis, to say that ESA is a very special place to work. So, what is ESA? ESA works for the benefit of the European space community. Europe, through ESA, is successfully active in all space domains and is a recognized and reliable partner in all major endeavors in science and exploration. Top-notch science and knowledge acquisition are at the core of the agency's DNA and focus. ESA is also unique among space agencies. It is the only space agency working for exclusively peaceful purposes. It is also the only truly international space agency, bringing together 22 member states, 3 associate member states, and Canada, as well as some 5 other European states who have cooperation agreements with us. This means that together we can achieve more than one country alone, and this is one of our major strengths. In addition, at ESA, we believe that an agency can only be as strong as its people. Essential elements in this respect are diversity and inclusiveness. We are therefore continuing our work towards becoming a diverse and attractive employer that serves as a model to the space community and beyond. Between now and 2030, more than 40% of ESA workforce will retire and many new colleagues will join us as a result. This is obviously a major catalyst for change, but also an unprecedented opportunity to help us complete the organizational transformation required for us to be able to continue working for the benefit of Europe as a whole, looking to the future and to the years to come. At ESA, we are constantly promoting the work we do. However, we don't often talk about ESA as an employer. This is one of the reasons why this week we are opening the doors of ESA to you as potential candidates so that you can find out firsthand from our ESA colleagues what it is like to actually work at ESA. The program for the week is published on our careers website. This website also contains a lot of information about working at ESA, both for people who have already built up professional experiences and are looking for a change, and also for those just starting their careers. The right job for you at ESA may not be open today, but there will be many exciting opportunities in the coming months and years. These will not just be in science and engineering, but also in the business support domains such as IT, legal, financial, procurement, HR, and facility management. Now, I would like to conclude with a word of advice to all potential candidates. Yes, ESA is an amazing place to work. And yes, we set the bar high and recruit highly competent experts. But don't set the bar too high for yourself. When you see an interesting vacancy, take a good critical look at the requirements listed. Compare them objectively with your background, namely your qualifications and experience. And don't forget to make sure the vacancy fits with your motivation and aspirations. If you see a match, then give it a go and apply. Let us decide if you are the right person for the job. Our recruiting managers and HR have a lot of experience in selecting the right people for our organization. In the future, perhaps that could be you. I wish you an interesting, educational and inspirational first ESA Careers Week. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zineb El Amri from ESA Human Resources Department. Today marks the opening of the first Careers Week of the European Space Agency. In this roundtable dedicated to ESA Future Careers, we are honored to be joined by 3 colleagues who will share with us their insights on new career trends, predictions for the future, and also obviously answer your questions. So we have first ESA Head of Human Resources, Xavier Humbert, our Chief Diversity Officer, Ercilia Vaudou, and finally, Lucy van der Tas, our Head of Talent Acquisition. Thank you all for making the time today. So to start, you have all been working at ESA for many years. To all of you, what striking change or key moment in your career stands out in your memory? Xavier, if I may start with you.
Thank you, Zineb, and good morning to everyone. Happy to host you in this broadcast. As you mentioned, as you said, Zineb, most of us are having long careers, and this is one of the, I would say, specificity of ESA is that people like to be in ESA, and therefore most of them, they make a long career in ESA. On my side, I've been there for 27 years, and I think that Lucy and Ercilia have been there for even longer than me. So it's extremely difficult to single out one element over such a long career. You have ups and downs, of course, but you have also various kind of experience. Some are, I would say, at individual levels, others at team levels, or you are proud of what ESA is doing. At individual level, there are things that you achieve. That you either regarding your own personal career or in terms of convincing others to follow you. In a team, with a team, you are doing a lot of things all together, and I have to say that at ESA we really work within teams. And finally, in an organization like ESA is a success story. So you are extremely proud of working for ESA. There is not one single, I would say, mission that you can isolate. All missions are fantastic, and you are really, when you are working in ESA, you really feel the DNA of being in ESA and being a successful person in a successful organization. Voilà.
Thank you, Xavier. Ercilia?
I can only agree with Mr. Humbert. I have also had the privilege to be at ESA since a long time, and I would say that beside the long career, ESA also offered the possibility really to explore many jobs, many other possibilities, and this is something that it allows you a continuous growth. Being in team, the fact that to confront yourself with engineers, with social scientists, it's really, there are many occasions of mobility and of growth. And also mobility in geographical terms. So I spent most of my career in Paris, but I had really the opportunity and the privilege to work for years at the ESA Washington office. And this was an extremely intense experience because on one side, for the Americans, we were the Europeans, and for the Europeans, we were the Americans. And this was really the occasion to enlarge the perspective and to understand better also the motivation on both sides. If I have to identify kind of moments, I don't know if you want to know about that, Zineb, at this stage, but I was with my colleague when I was at Washington office. We were present at the launch of the Columbia shuttle, then exploded in its way back. We were with the NASA colleagues, we met the families, and I still remember that Saturday afternoon where we were called, and with my colleagues we went to the NASA headquarters. Everyone was silent, everyone was crying, and we were just hugged like if we were one of them. And so this sense of being part of a space family that is well beyond Europe, well beyond competition, but really be together in a way pursuing the same objectives, the same dreams. And this was a huge sense of empowerment and also of pride.
Thank you, Ercilia. And Lucy?
Thank you, Zineb. Well, as Xavier pointed out, I've been working for ESA for a very long time. I started in 1983, and I've been working at our research center, ESTEC, in the Netherlands, where I would say that about 55%, 56% of ESA staff are located. When I started, there were around 750 people on site. Today, we're more than 2,400. And prior to COVID, we had 50,000 visitors a year. I've seen a huge change in the atmosphere over the years. ESTEC has become almost like a university campus, and there's quite a buzz and a lot of energy. Of course, things were very quiet during COVID with everyone working from home, but I'm noticing that the buzz is coming back. It's like ESTEC is coming alive again, and I'm really enjoying that feeling. And I also love to watch launches. I remember coming to ESTEC at 2:00 in the morning to watch the Hipparcos launch in 1989 and finding the conference room with the link to Kourou packed. Everybody was in to watch this important launch. Of course, we can watch from home now, as I did for Samantha Cristoforetti's launch last week, but I still find them exciting even after all these years, and I still get a bit emotional, especially when I think about all the hard work that's been going on behind the scenes to make these happen.
Thank you, Lucy. I'm sure many attendees who wonder who can join the European Space Agency and how you see the future ESA. Xavier Humbert, as head of human resources, what are your current recruitment priorities, your projections for the coming decade, and where do you see new competencies and profiles emerging?
Thank you, Zineb. For those of you who had the opportunity to listen to the DG speech before introducing this career week, you heard that we are now facing what we call in ESA the recruitment wave. That is to say that many of us are going to leave in the next 8 years. So we will be losing, if I may say, some 40% of the workforce, which is huge. It's really huge, which means that we are looking now for all kinds of, I would say, profiles, because in these 40% of people leaving, of course, you have many engineers, you have many scientists, but you have also all kinds of, I would say, workers at ESA, people from also the what we call the support directorate, that is to say from HR, IT, finance, legal, procurement. So we are really looking for all kinds of profiles now in the next years. The point is that we are not the only organization facing this retirement wave. That is to say that all, I would say in Europe, all the industry, all the space-related activities, they are also faced with this kind of, I would say, retirement wave, and therefore there is a real war for the talent. So we really have to be at the forefront of this search for talent. And by the way, Lucy van der Sas, who is there, will tell you certainly more about that because she's a specialist in that. But we are looking for all kinds of talents. Of course, there are some, I would say, aspects because of the new space, because of some new technologies which are a little bit more rare, scarce, and that we are focusing more, and therefore the war is even more difficult, I would say, for this talent. This is IT people, for instance, artificial intelligence specialists, cyber security specialists, quantum technology. So all of this is something that some 5-10 years ago you didn't hear about, except IT, of course. But now it's really something which becomes critical for many of our missions, and therefore we are really looking for this profile. But again, all of you, we are looking for all of you. Including, by the way, that's also one of the aspects on which we have to focus. We are looking for young people. So we have developed a young professional scheme, which is extremely successful. This is something which is just starting now. We have received thousands of applications. So we are looking for new brain and also offering opportunities for people with 2-3 years of experience. There will be in this week, you will have a presentation by my colleague Florence Tustallo about our entry-level program. So we have a series of programs that help young people to join ESA, and we are looking for that. We also are looking, and probably Ercilia Vaodo, the Chief Diversity Officer, will tell more about that, for more diverse recruitment, in the sense that being international, we have to recruit people from all, I would say, member states. This is a requirement from the convention that says that we should ensure an adequate distribution of posts amongst our 22 member states, plus some additional cooperating or associate member states. But we have to offer and to be attractive for all these populations. So we are really looking for this geographical diversity And I would say that's the last point, and something on which Ercilia has been working for quite some time now, to also improve the diversity in terms of gender. We are a very male organizations. People who are doing the engineering studies, they are very often boys rather than girls. But we have to be more attractive than we are currently. We only have about 30% of the ESA staff are women. We need to increase. We pay a lot of efforts to that. But those of you who happen to be female, no, please be aware that you are more than welcome in ESA. We really need you. We count on you to rebalance also this equilibrium between genders. Voilà. In a nutshell, Zineb, this is, I would say, the future trends of ESA's recruitment.
I'd like to react to something that you said regarding to young profiles. Are you also recruiting other profiles than junior?
We are looking all ESA is a mixture of young blood and experience. Of course, I would say the success of ESA was done through this mixture of very specialized people. So specialized people, you become specialized after years. So we keep on having, I would say, a balanced recruitment in terms of both population. I think, if I'm not wrong, Ercilia might comment, but I think that the recruitment age is currently something like 39. I think 39 years old in terms of recruitment, which is a little bit old, I would say. We need to be more attractive towards younger people, but we still need people with an experience, and in particular in industry. And this is also the reason why, for instance, when we attract new people in this young professional program, if they don't have an experience in industry over the last 2 or 3 years of experience, we will send them to industry because they need to learn how industry is working. We are working with industry, so we have to understand the modus operandi of industry, and therefore we have to rely on either those young people having trained a little bit in industry or experienced staff who have been spending some years in Airbus, in all these industries, and that can join us and bring the benefit of this industrial perspective into ESA.
Now, talking about COVID. So our work lives have been incredibly challenged and disrupted over the past 2 years. How has COVID changed the way people work at the European Space Agency?
COVID would not surprise you to say that, like many organizations, COVID has been a kind of revolution. First of all, we have to say that we were quite lucky in ESA in the sense that from one day to the other, like many other companies, we have to move to telework, but we were in a way prepared for that, in the sense that we were quite advanced in terms of the digitalization. For instance, if you take HR, a number of my payroll officers, they used to work from home and to do the payroll. It's just a minor element, but not so much minor for some of the colleagues. But just to let you know that we immediately could jump into this teleworking mode. We arranged, also we provided people with the necessary equipment, with the laptop. They already have, most of them, the laptops. We provided for some equipment to work well at home. We provided some measures to facilitate this work. And now we are back. And we are back in a new environment, that's clear. What did we do during those 2 years in particular? We negotiated with the staff union, with the staff representative, a new model for telework. And telework is now, I would say, a kind of future. I would say more than telework, probably let's call it hybrid work. Hybrid model is something all of you can hear about that. And hybrid, I think, is really the future, in the sense that you will almost have no one now working fully from the office in the future. So you have to arrange teams that work. Some of them work from home part of the week, others work from the office. You have to arrange meetings with hybrid models. You have to arrange your infrastructure. You revisit also the way you allocate the offices, because if people are from home, what usage will you be doing of the offices? But this COVID has really, I would say, enhanced what we were already preparing, which was, let's try and figure out how we can work in the future in this new, I would say, new shape of work. We are also much more flexible, for instance, for people to telework from their home countries. This is something which, in terms of attractiveness into ESA of people that hesitate to expatriate, be aware that for about up to 9 days per month now, you can telework from your home country. So these are elements that you could not think about some 3 years ago. So there is really a new model, I would say, that I can anticipate for the future, and which is already the present. That is to say that we are now working in hybrid. Here today, I'm from the office, but maybe this afternoon I will go back home, or tomorrow morning I don't know where I will be. So you see, this is really depending on the needs. There is a flexibility that you would never have imagined before. Voilà, Zineb.
Thank you very much. So, Ercilia, today everyone is unanimous on the importance of diversity and inclusion in the workplace, which was not the case, I mean, just a decade ago. But the definitions and the dimensions seem to diverge from one organization to another. What does diversity stand for at ESA?
Thank you for this question, and also allow me just to say in continuation with what Xavier Amber said, that all these measures, all this flexibility, all these hybrid models will for sure also work in the direction of having more diversity and inclusion. There is, it's true, Zineb, that there is a growing attention to diversity in all organizations, as this is not just the right thing to do, but is the smart thing to do. It's clear that is when you are able to put together tensions and ideas that don't go in the same direction, then you have innovation coming. And for us, it's extremely important to be able to get these sparks out of the interaction among people. I would like to add that at ESA we know very well that diversity can do magic. We are now 22 member states plus associated states, and we know that you can do amazing things like landing on a comet at 500 million kilometers from here, if you put together the competencies, the talents, the backgrounds of this diverse world that Europe represents. We know that it's impossible to do these things alone as a country on its own. So we know this, we know the magic that it can produce, but we have to reinforce elements of diversity, and in particular, I would say in the direction of have a stronger balance, gender balance, but also include people with disabilities. We like to say that in space we are all disabled, and this is also reflected in being the first space agency in the world to have an astronaut, also a para-astronaut project for people with disabilities. So we are really, in a way, paving the way for being much more diverse and inclusive. I would like to stress one thing, and this is also, we know this very well, is that there is a way of saying that diversity is to be invited to a party, but inclusion is to be invited to dance. If you are not able really to reinforce the inclusion, how you really take this diverse perspective into account, diversity can also be has its drawbacks. It's through the inclusion, to the ability to listen, to create work environments where everyone feels safe, to have a system where also the rules are rules that don't allow for discrimination. The inclusion is where you really transform diversity in a success. With respect to the gender, when I joined ESA, there were no women in top management, no one. Today, we are 18% of women in top management, a big jump, because only 5 years ago, we were below the 10%, so almost in percentage term, we doubled. But we, of course, we pay the price that we have still very few applications from girls. Very few applications, meaning that we don't go beyond 30%. Still, we recruit a much larger share. There is really an effort in this direction to create. We don't have any form of positive discrimination. What we really try to ensure is equal opportunities. This is the way ESA does diversity. It's not compromising on competencies, it's not favoring one thing against us, but it's just creating equal opportunities so that everyone has his chance, working on bias, working on talk about how much space today, as Xavier Amber was saying, is not any longer a Blue Eyes Boys Club, is not any longer just technology push, is really how you can have an impact. And the young generation, they want to have an impact. And with what we do, Earth observation, telecommunication, navigation, science, we can really contribute to the big challenges of tomorrow, being also not just the climate change, but also peace, but also energy, but also migration. So space is now an infrastructure, is now knowledge, and is now really the ability to have an impact. And this, I can tell you, is already a message that by itself brings much more attractiveness, and in particular girls and boys, the young generation, but let's say it's much more inclusive.
Thank you, Arcelia. Would you say that ESA today is diverse enough and multicultural? Is it a workplace accessible to everyone?
We are all the journey through increasing diversity is made by steps, and we have absolutely made big improvements. 5 years ago, the number of women applying to ESA was 16%. Today is 30%. So you see, in such a short time, we are really, making great progress. Of course, we have to make sure that there are no physical barriers in our establishment, although with the hybrid things, this will also allow in a way to get mitigation of this through the ability also to work from remote. So we are working, having our establishment disability friendly. We are striving to ensure that our regulation are again inclusive, also with respect to the different forms of families that now should be considered. And as I said, I think that we got a lot of awards, I have to say. Let me proud of this. And for instance, the Excellence Awards in Diversity from the International Astronomical Federation, which is quite prestigious. And why we got this? We got this because for ESA to improve diversity is not like, allow me to say, for NASA or for member states. We have a geography element. We have to keep our member states together, and the geography part, so that we really want to have our member states staff part of the community, means that we cannot have progresses, we cannot have jumps in progresses as maybe others can do. I just give you an example. We cannot recruit. There are some nationalities that are very present in application from women, but we cannot just recruit all of them. If we were recruiting all just these few nationalities, we would jump. But we have to make sure that everyone is brought in. This is our strength. So squaring circles, I would say that we have made a lot of progress. Thanks also, of course, to HR and the commitment that HR has in this sense.
And what is being done to close the gap between the situation today, which is obviously improving compared to 10 years ago and even 5 years ago, like you said, and the diversity and inclusion agenda that you have for the future?
Okay, let's say that we are pursuing diversity, as you said in a few questions ago, covers many aspects. We are starting from some aspects, knowing that, of course, this will be enriched. For us, the priorities now is geography, as we said. So we always have to keep an eye on geography, gender, and people with disabilities, generation, as also was stressed. So we are focusing on some of these axes. With respect to gender, what we have done to improve is, first of all, we cannot be more diverse than the people that apply to ESA. If we have only few women apply to ESA, we cannot just have a balance. So first thing is to make sure to advocate STEM subjects as the subjects with highest empowerment, so that really girls, starting from our education program and also from the advocacy that we do, to be sure that girls see STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, as the jobs of tomorrow, and careers in space as the jobs of tomorrow. So we work from school up to universities, and with university, so more girls in STEM and more girls are applying to ESA. This is the idea. And the applying to ESA goes from this change in narrative, goes in by making known what ESA does, making known the richness of space careers is not just engineering with a piece of hardware, is cybersecurity, data science, legal. We have economies. We have a moon economy to develop with new rules. So there is really place for all talents. And this is, I think, the call, I hope the call that we go through today.
Thank you, Arcilia. I'd like to thank Lucy van der Tas for her patience and bring her in at this point. So to continue on the topic of diversity and scarcity, where do you face difficulties to find candidates today for ESA?
Thank you, Zineb. Yes, following on, both Xavier Ambert and Arcilia Verder have touched on it, is the diversity aspect. I'll come back to that in a moment. But I would say where we primarily have difficulties to find candidates is where people do not immediately think of the European Space Agency as a potential employer. We have a certain image of being an engineering and a scientific organization, and people tend to think that we employ only engineers and scientists. But we have 4 people sitting in this broadcast who come from a very diverse range of backgrounds. And the ones where the biggest challenges usually lie are the people who come from the non-space related backgrounds. So Xavier Ambert touched on it. One area where we do have particular difficulty is IT. IT people are in high demand these days. And as I said, ESA is not necessarily somewhere where IT people naturally think about going for their careers. I have also heard, by the way, that other international organizations are experiencing similar difficulties to attract good IT people. So I have a feeling that this is a bigger problem than beyond ESA. Another area of non-space related jobs is auditors. There, again, people don't necessarily think about ESA as their first port of call. On the technical side, navigation and navigation profiles, again, it's a very specific profile. We're also working very hard to ensure diversity among the people that we recruit for these jobs, and this is an area where we do encounter some problems. And of course, there are certain specific engineering jobs where we need people with industrial experience. One example is assembly integration and verification, AIV, and assembly integration and test, AIT. They are slightly different, but they are very important jobs that we need at the final phases of our satellite missions. And this is not necessarily something that you can learn at university. Obviously, the right degree is a good start, but you do need to build up the right profile through experience. And the same applies to senior systems engineers. There is a need for good senior systems engineers, but those we can grow our own. They can come in through a variety of routes. But I would say overall, we do receive a lot of applications, a huge number of applications from a lot of very competent candidates, and a lot of our vacancies can be filled relatively quickly. So it's not a general problem, but there are certain areas where we do need to work harder at attracting candidates.
Together with FCA, you play central roles in attracting new-blooded talents to ESA. What is the overall strategy that you have put in place to search for candidates, and how do you diversify your talent pipeline?
So the role of the head of talent acquisition at ESA was created in 2020. It's part of ESA's answer to the retirement wave, and I share Xavier Ambert's reference to that is to call it a recruitment wave. I much prefer to call it that. And as our Director General said in his opening speech, this is a golden opportunity for ESA for change and to open our doors to a wider range of profiles. So the talent acquisition strategy is built on three main pillars. The first pillar is to raise ESA's profile across Europe and to encourage more people to think of ESA as a potential employer. I was talking just now about some of the non-space profiles. That's one area that we're looking at. We do this through events such as this Careers Week. This is the first ESA Careers Week, and this is one of the events that we are doing to raise ESA's awareness as an employer, and as our Director General said, to open the door to people to see behind the doors what we are actually doing in our work and what the people are doing and what we are like as an employer. And we're also very lucky to be riding right now on the very, very big wave that was created by the astronaut selection. Our profile at the moment across Europe is very high. The challenge in the coming years in this particular pillar will be to maintain this momentum and to continue to keep our profile as high as possible as an employer. The second pillar is to identify the critical positions we need to secure our future, and also to identify the jobs which are the most challenging to fill and to monitor progress. Now, I've already spoken about some of the jobs we find challenging to fill, but we also need to monitor this. We need to make sure, are they still challenging, or do they become less challenging? And are there new ones that have appeared that we may need to work at also attracting candidates for? And in terms of the positions we need to secure our future, I could already say that we will continue to need the engineering roles we have today. We will still need to have structures engineers, mechanisms engineers, thermal control, power, RF systems, components, optical engineering, etc. These are the backbone of the work that we do. They provide the foundation for our work. Obviously, within their own specific domains, there are evolutions, there are new technologies developing, but we will continue to need people in these roles now and in the future. And then the third pillar is, of course, the diversity pillar. Raising ESA's awareness across all our member states, also the new players and the new member states coming on board who may not have the big tradition in space that some of the bigger players already have, and the various other aspects of diversity, also taking into account gender diversity, which both Cecilia and Xavier Ambert have touched on. And I feel that we have a big role there in role modeling ourselves, also as not being part of the traditional space engineering roles, but also role modeling for STEM, bringing people on board into STEM, and also for women. I think that that's very important.
Thank you. So many candidates are unsure about the technical requirements when they read a job offer, and it's particularly true for underrepresented groups, just to mention in particular women. So is it a must-have to apply, and how is important the technical training and experience for a career at ESA?
This is a very good question, Zineb. Thank you. One of the things that the Director General touched on is how high people sometimes set the bar for themselves, and that they say, oh, I'm not going to be good enough to join an organization such as ESA with this huge technical and engineering and scientific presence and these amazing achievements, and I can't possibly be good enough. And I would say in the first instance, let us be the judge of that. And if you have a solid background in or qualifications, then give it a try. Obviously, technical training and the right technical training experience are important. We have experts, we have worldwide experts working at ESA, but these are the people who've grown their careers over many years. And in particular, I think it's important for our senior roles. So when we're recruiting somebody with 10 or more years of experience, we generally expect that they have started with a university degree in a relevant domain, but that they have built on it further through a mix of experience and formal training, attendance to conferences. But we also recruit people who are starting their careers. We have our young graduate trainee program, as Xavier Ambert also referred to the newly created junior professional program. This program actually gives people at the start of their career the opportunity during a 3-year contract with ESA to receive tailor-made training and developmental opportunities with a view to becoming ready for a permanent position with ESA, hopefully, at the end of the 3 years. And obviously, we look at people at the start of their careers in a different light. Here we're looking for people with potential, and this is what we evaluate during the selection process. So I would say at this point, if you're starting out your career, your potential, demonstrated by drive and professional curiosity, are nearly as important as the studies that you have done. The more senior the position, the more weight that the right experience and technical background carry. Having said that, of course, it's rare to recruit somebody with exactly the right background who's 100% the match with our position. It can happen, but it's rare. And we, as part of the selection process, we have to evaluate also what the match is, where the gaps are, and how long it would take someone to get up to speed in that job. Having said that, even our best and most senior experts had to start somewhere. So once on board at ESA, there is the possibility to grow and to develop and also to learn from those experts.
Thank you.
If I may intervene, sorry, Zineb, just if I may intervene, there is not one size fit all style or not one model of career also. First of all, we are welcoming all of you. If you don't try your chance, of course, you will never be recruited by ESA. So all the engineers, they have started in general very junior, not very much experienced, and then they grow up. And then you might have very different types of career as well. Sorry to mention her, but someone like Ercilia Vaodo, she's a typical example of someone who has had many different mobilities, type of experience, and you have other types of career which are more in a specific area where, for whatever reason, you prefer to concentrate yourself. So there is certainly no one single type of career. ESA welcome all types of career. So we facilitate as much as we can. We facilitate the growing up of any individual, be it in a specific area or in mobility, transversal mobility. We know how mobility is key now for the young generation, for the millennials, being mobility in and out, but also I trust mobility inside the company to try new experiments. So this is something that we really can provide. And so don't be afraid of pushing forward your candidature. We will see. We will help you in growing up in the organization. Voilà.
Thank you, Xavier. So back to Lucy. Does ESA offer on-the-job training to its employees to fill any skills gap?
Well, I think I can build on what Xavier just said, is yes. In a nutshell, the answer is yes. We have a wide range of developmental opportunities. So first of all, we have a big portfolio of training courses that we offer. We offer training courses in soft skills, in languages, in engineering and technical skills, also courses about how to get to know how ESA as an organization works. We offer lectures and exchanges with our experts. And of course, people learn while doing their jobs. The growth, the developing on the job, the opportunities of doing different activities within a current job, of moving to a new job, on growing further. I mean, these are all very important aspects of what we offer. My colleague, the head of talent development, is also looking at the developmental needs of the workforce, and I'm trying to anticipate those. A few years ago, we launched an ESA project managers training program, which targeted newly appointed or aspiring project managers, and it's been a huge success. People are very motivated to participate as they feel it gives them a great opportunity to learn a lot. We also offer a number of tailored systems engineering courses. Systems engineering is a big part of the engineering work that we do. And when I say tailored, both of these courses have been developed according to ESA needs with specialized training providers, and we offer them to our people in the organization. And therefore, the message that I would give newcomers to ESA and people also here today is that there are very many learning opportunities at ESA, and you get the opportunity and you need to make the most of them. And of course, the interpersonal interactions are extremely important. And as the impact of the COVID pandemic diminishes, and I hope it will continue to diminish, these opportunities for interaction come back more into play. And in this context, I think it's also important to mention that we do ask people to relocate to one of our establishments when they come to work for us. Among other things, we feel that a regular on-site presence is essential for teamwork. It allows people to keep in touch with their colleagues and managers, and it facilitates this exchange that I was just describing. And there are also obviously some aspects of face-to-face communications which just cannot be replaced by virtual contacts. And coming back to ESTEC here in the Netherlands, which is where I'm speaking from today, we have cutting-edge laboratories and a cutting-edge satellite test center. Testing and working with hardware is just not something that can be done virtually.
Thank you, Lucy. So if you could, to all of you, give me your final words to potential candidates who are with us today. What would be your precious advice for those who are thinking of applying to a job at ESA? Ercilia, what would you say to them?
Yeah, thank you, Zineb. If I can just add to what has been said. So when you get into ESA, you find you can have geographical mobility, could be in Spain, could be in the Netherlands, could be abroad. You can have career mobility, be exposed to many subjects from exploration to navigation. You have all these chances of growth. It's a modern work environment, and I would add another aspect, is that as once a president of a republic said coming to ESTEC, ESA is the Europe that we like. Since 1975, since its creation, ESA had one currency. So we really were Europe before Europe. And we represent and reflect the spirit of the European spirit. And I think is another value that we really should put on the table, in particular considering that, I mean, what it represents, the European values, what they represent today, is what we bring in orbit also when we go on the station. Now, one advice is, I completely agree, and this is also in a way my story. ESA jobs are exactly made for you. It's not why should me, is the other way around, is which one is waiting for me. So take this perspective. We have long careers in ESA because it's the best place to be. And for everyone, there will be a new job somewhere now, tomorrow, waiting for your competencies, for your outlook. And so please, dare to dare, which is the spirit of the explorators and space that we represent.
Thank you. Lucy, what would you say to them?
Thank you. Well, it's a variation on a theme, if you like, that we have all three of us been saying through our talks, is don't set the bar too high for yourself. There are lots of interesting jobs. There will be new jobs coming. ESA is changing over the coming years with this recruitment wave, with the new people coming on board to replace those of us who are retiring. And if you see a job that is of interest, go for it. If you don't make it this time, set up an alert on our website and wait for the next opportunity. And when you apply, and this is a piece of very, very practical advice here, make sure you tailor your CV and your motivation letter so that our recruiting managers can easily see what it is you bring to the job. Over the years, I've seen very many standard applications which seem to have been based on a template. And then it's hard to differentiate yourself from all the others who are potentially applying. You need to stand out. So remember this when you prepare your application. Really think about the position, compare the position to what you want to do, what you have done, and make sure that this is clear from your application. Thank you.
Thank you. Xavier?
Difficult to say in one word, in a few words, but first of all, if you like Europe, if you like space, if you believe in Europe, if you believe in space, you apply. That's and if you believe in cooperation, I think the success story of ESA is around those three words: space, European, and cooperation. Cooperation in teams, cooperation with outside partners. So that this is really, you may have heard from us that we are, I think, extremely proud working in ESA. ESA brings many benefits to the European citizens, be in terms of exploration, but also, of course, on the application on Earth. So it's something where you really have the feeling to participate to a journey. You are really part of a challenging journey, and you feel, even if you are, I would say, in the support areas, which is my case. I'm only in HR, if I may say so, but I am in ESA, and I'm trying to do my best to support my colleagues working in the other areas for the success of ESA. So if you are motivated by such a challenge, don't hesitate to apply. Lucy has given you some good hints about what to do, what not to do. But you will have your chance. And just for your information, 2-3 years ago, we were issuing about 80, 90 vacancy notices per year. Last year, it was 188. So we are really going much further in terms of, because of the recruitment wave. We hope also that we might have more also positions thanks to possible successful ministerial conferences with additional programs. So there will be, I hope, opportunities for you to find your way and your chance in ESA. So don't hesitate to apply. That's my word.
Thank you, Xavier, and thank you all. We are now moving to the Q&A session. We actually received many of them during this live. Many were already answered in YouTube chats, thanks to our colleagues behind the scenes, Myriam, Lorraine, and Nouria. And I'd like to bring up the top 3 question to the roundtable. So the first question is, it was mentioned before that experience from industry can be beneficial. What types of companies are these? So maybe Xavier?
Industry, it's not systematic, but industry indeed, usually space industry. Of course, that helps if you already have a certain knowledge from the other's angle, I would say, of the matter. So I mentioned Airbus. It can be, there are many space-related industry where you will have learned some elements of, I would say, of a space object or a space project. So, but also we take, by the way, we have about 70 or 75% of the staff, of the candidates which are recruited, come from the private sector. So we are an international organization, but we mainly recruit from the private sector, and private sector at large. Myself, I was coming from a law firm when I joined ESA, but you may come from many various areas, not necessarily the space industry, but space industry, I would say, is probably a plus in your CV when you apply, and when you mention that you have been working in this or that private company in Spain, in Germany, in whatever country. That's my answer. But maybe Lucy may be more specific on that.
If I could just add, I mean, I'm totally with you on that one, Xavier, in terms of the space related, but there are also certain domains where, in fact, we can actually learn from. So one domain is power storage, for instance, and we do quite often recruit from the automotive industry. That too, for some of our software engineering positions. So to just confirm, emphasize what Xavier Imbert just said, it's industrial experience in the broader sense of the word. But of course, if you can bring space-related industrial experience to the table, that can be a plus. And in certain very specific cases, that may actually even be a requirement.
Thank you. So I have a second question. So if somebody has a non-STEM scientific background, and I think it's probably for you, Ercilia, for example, archaeology, that deals with material and natural sciences, but isn't just qualified as a master, but a master of administration, how can they contribute to ESA?
Today we have that 2/3 of the positions at ESA are indeed for STEM subjects. So, but this is part also of there is such an evolution in space careers, and the way space is really getting more and more into many more fields. Just to give you an example, archaeology, now there is a strong interest, and there are many universities that are leading in this, is archaeology by satellites. How you discover new sites, how you, looking at remote sensing images and images from satellites, there is a new archaeology coming up. So these links between disciplines, in particular considering that space is also an infrastructure, like is a terrestrial and the digital and space infrastructure, they are part of all. you have space contributing to telemedicine, you have space contributing to many teleeducation. So it's not just the STEM hardware competencies, but the way you use the infrastructure of space, it's open to many more backgrounds. And as I said before, we have now really enriched our backgrounds. We have in exploration, for instance, really new expertise. You see also the role of ethics with respect to explorations is emerging as a subject that you have to take into account. What are the rules? The rules of getting into other planets, and how, and again, the economy. The economy is really, the space economy we know is blooming and is becoming such an engine of growth and jobs in member states. The blooming of space economy is bringing in, together with the new space activities, completely different way to use space, in particular the downstream, how you use the infrastructure for services on Earth. And this is touching to large variety of fields and disciplinary fields. So the angle of space can really be embedded in many also humanistic subjects now. So I see this as a movement that is growing.
Thank you, Ercilia. So this question is probably for Lucy. How do you ensure that you hire based on talent and potential and not simply on past job experience? That can be a misleading approach to hiring.
That is a very good question. It's through the selection process. I think at the end of the day that this is key. So obviously the selection process is based in the first instance on the application that somebody submits, hence my concrete piece of advice earlier. But we go through the selection process and through the interviews and also reference taking, and that's how we base the selection process. And indeed, I mean, past experience is not 100% a determinant for the future, but it is a good determinant, especially when you're looking at the behavioral side. Behavioral competency-based interviews are based on what have you done, and you can also talk about what would you have done differently, what have you learned. So experience plays a big role, but I did also talk about potential and measuring the potential and the drive and the professional curiosity of the candidates. These are all very important for a successful career, especially if it spans 20 or 30 years in one organization, and to keep yourself and the organization at the cutting edge of technology. This professional curiosity, which I see a lot in the organization, is a big driver.
And I have another question. I think we have time to grab another question. Does ESA have a program to transition someone with a technical experience in another field to space application? Maybe Lucy?
Yes, I use the example of automotive in particular for these energy storage. And there are other cases, people with a components background. If they have the knowledge of the components, it's the application in the space environment or in the space world that they learn while they're at ESA. So yes, it is possible to transition. It depends, of course, on the type of role. But there are plenty of opportunities for people, what we call the so-called spin-in and the fresh blood and new perspectives that we're also looking to learn from other industries as well.
Thank you very much. I mean, thank you to all of our panelists today. I think we can just wrap up and say that, I mean, Xavier has highlighted that we have more than 180 vacancies per year, that we are obviously recruiting diverse profile, not just young, but also professional and experienced experts, and also people who have potential, and obviously also people with experience from industry and elsewhere. And to close also with a possibility to develop and to transition and move and grow at ESA. So thank you very much for all. I hope you found this session interesting and inspiring. The recording will be available on ESA Career site, where all the latest information can be found. So thanks to everyone, obviously, who have sent a question and joined this panel discussion. Enjoy this Career Week and stay connected with ESA. And just to have a quick information on the upcoming session at 1:30 on the Life in an ESA project. And obviously, there is much more on the menu for this week that you can have the information on ESA Careers website. Thank you very much and bye.
Thank you.